My name is Kendra, and I bought my first house without telling my family. Not because I was ashamed, and not because I wanted to hurt anyone. I kept it quiet because in my family, news didn't stay news. It became a group decision. A committee meeting. A permission slip I was expected to sign with my own life. The house wasn't big. 2 bedrooms, 1 bath, a narrow hallway, and a backyard just wide enough for my dog, Harvey, to sprint in crooked circles until he collapsed in the grass. But it was mine. Every inch of it came from years of saving, skipped vacations, packed lunches, secondhand furniture, and saying no to myself 100 times so I could finally say yes to something that mattered. I moved in slowly, like someone easing into peace. I hung curtains that softened the afternoon light. I refinished a scratched kitchen table after work, sanding it down while Harvey lay at my feet, thumping his tail whenever I looked at him. I planted 2 small shrubs along the fence line because I liked the idea of privacy that grew over time. And I didn't tell my parents or my older sister, Lena. Growing up, Lena was the sun and the rest of us rotated around her moods. My mom called her sensitive. My dad called her going through a lot, and I was the easy one. The strong one. The one who didn't need as much. That phrase followed me for years, dressed up like a compliment while it quietly erased my right to ask for anything. If Lena forgot a bill, my parents paid it and blamed stress. If I forgot something, I was told to be more responsible. If Lena quit a job, she was finding herself. If I wanted to change anything, I was being dramatic. My father almost never argued. He sat behind my mother's decisions like a shadow that nodded. So when I signed the mortgage papers, I kept it to myself. I wanted one accomplishment that didn't get inspected, corrected, or handed to Lena in the name of family. For 3 months, it worked. Then, on a Wednesday afternoon, I came home from the veterinary clinic and found my parents' car in my driveway. I sat in my own parked car for a full 10 seconds, staring at it like it might disappear if I waited long enough. My stomach turned cold. I hadn't given them my address. I hadn't posted anything online. I hadn't even told my coworkers. The only person who knew was my best friend Leah, and she'd been guarding my secret like it was her own. Harvey whined softly from the passenger seat. I forced myself to breathe, clipped his leash, and walked up to the front door. It was unlocked. The sound of voices hit me first, drifting out from the hallway. My mother's voice, light and pleased, my father's, low and thoughtful. And Lena's laugh, sharp at the edges, like someone enjoying a joke I wasn't part of. I stepped inside. My mom was in the kitchen opening cabinet doors as if she was checking for flaws. My dad stood in the living room with his hands on his hips, studying the layout like he was deciding where walls should go. Lena was in the center of the room, turning slowly, eyes traveling over my furniture, my framed photos, my dog's bed near the back door. None of them looked surprised to see me. Lena turned her head, calm as a landlord. "This place works for me," she said. "I'll move in this weekend." I waited for the punchline, for her to smile and admit she was kidding, but my mother nodded like it had already been discussed, like the decision had been made in a meeting I wasn't invited to. "Lena needs stability," my mom said, as if she were explaining the weather. "And you have space. It's perfect." My throat tightened, not with fear, but with a familiar rage I'd swallowed my whole life. "It's not perfect," I said, keeping my voice even. "It's my house." Lena waved her hand. "Don't start. Family doesn't hoard things." My dad finally looked at me. "Kendra," he said, like my name was a warning. "Be reasonable, reasonable, reasonable." That word had been used on me like a leash for years. I stared at my mother. "How did you even get in?" She smiled, almost proud. "Lena said you'd be stubborn, so we came prepared." Then Lena reached into her purse and held up a key, my key. The spare I kept on a small hook by the entryway, hidden behind a hanging scarf. She jingled it once. "See? Solved." My heart dropped into my stomach. My hand tightened around Harvey's leash, and he pressed against my leg, sensing the change in me. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't give them the satisfaction of a scene. I just looked at Lena and said very clearly, "Put it back." Lena smiled wider. "No." And my mother, standing in my kitchen like she belonged there, added, "You'll thank us when you stop being so selfish." That night, After they left after Lena walked out with my key in her purse like she'd earned it, I sat on my couch in the silence and realized something simple. They weren't asking, they were taking. And if I didn't stop them now, I never would. I didn't sleep much. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Lena's voice in my living room, confident and casual, like she'd already unpacked. By morning, the anger in me had cooled into something harder. Resolve. I drove to work with Harvey in the back seat and my mind running through options like a checklist. Call my parents. Argue. Beg for respect. None of it would work, because none of it ever had. At the clinic, I tried to focus on the rhythm of the day: appointments, vaccinations, nail trims, but my phone kept lighting up with messages. Mom, we'll come by Saturday with boxes. Dad, don't make this difficult. Lena, I'm thinking the second bedroom needs a desk by the window. By lunch, my hands were shaking. Not from fear, from the audacity. They were speaking about my home like it was a family timeshare and I was just the caretaker. Leah called after work and I answered in the parking lot. The second I heard her voice, the words spilled out: the surprise visit, the key, Lena announcing she'd move in. Leah went quiet, then said, Kendra, you know this isn't about housing. It's about control. I know. I whispered. Then you can't negotiate with people who think your boundary is an insult, she said. You need action. That was the moment the plan locked into place. The next morning, I called a locksmith before my coffee even finished brewing. He arrived at 9:30, a kind-looking man with a tool bag and no curiosity in his eyes. He replaced the front and back locks, then the knob on the garage entry. The sound of screws turning felt like my spine straightening. When he handed me the new keys, I held them like proof. Then I moved through the house and found everything Lena had touched. The couch shoved off-center. My dining table cluttered with her perfume samples and makeup bag from yesterday's tour. It wasn't much yet, but it was a flag planted in my space. I boxed it all, not because it was valuable, but because it was deliberate. Every item was a reminder that she believed she could enter my life and rearrange it. I packed the makeup, the cheap candles, the little sticky notes she'd placed on cabinets like she was labeling her future. I carried the boxes into the garage and stacked them near the door. After that, I did something I should have done months ago. I installed a camera doorbell and 2 small security cameras, one angled toward the driveway, one toward the backyard gate. It wasn't paranoia. It was reality. By Friday night, the house looked like mine again. I took Harvey into the yard and threw a tennis ball until he flopped over, tongue out, satisfied. For a few minutes, I let myself pretend the worst was over. Then Saturday arrived. I was in the kitchen when I saw it through the front window. A moving truck rolling slowly down my street like a threat. It stopped in front of my house, hazards blinking. My chest tightened so fast it almost hurt. Lena climbed out of her car behind it, hair pulled back, sunglasses on, phone in hand. My parents' car pulled up too, as if this were a family event, like they were arriving at a picnic instead of a violation. Harvey barked, low and angry. I walked to the door and didn't open it. I watched through the camera as Lena marched up the steps and tried her old key. It didn't work. She tried again, harder. Then she turned and snapped something at my parents, who hurried up behind her. My mother leaned in and jiggled the handle like she could charm it open with entitlement. The doorbell rang. Once, twice, then 3 times in rapid succession. Kendra! Lena shouted through the wood. Stop playing games. I opened the door just enough to speak, leaving the chain latched. The cool air rushed in, carrying the smell of truck exhaust and my mother's perfume. Lena stared at the chain like it offended her. Unlock it, she demanded. No, I said. My mom's face tightened instantly. What is wrong with you? What's wrong with me is that you broke into my house and stole my spare key, I said, voice steady. This ends today. Dad exhaled like I was embarrassing him. We're here, the truck is here, don't make a scene in front of the neighbors. I stared at him. You brought a moving truck to my house without my permission. You made the scene. Lena shoved her shoulder closer to the door, trying to see inside. You're acting like I'm a stranger? You're acting like I'm not a person, I said. You can't live here. My mom's tone shifted into that familiar, weaponized disappointment. After everything we'd done for you. I almost laughed. They hadn't done this for me. They'd done it to me. I looked at Lena. Your things are boxed. They're in the garage. You can pick them up when you calm down, but you are not moving in. Her mouth fell open. Then she hissed, "You ungrateful little." I cut her off. "If you don't leave my property, I'm calling the police." For the first time, the confidence on her face flickered. Behind her, my mother whispered, furious, "You wouldn't." I held her gaze. "Try me," and I closed the door. For 10 long seconds after I shut the door, everything went silent. Then the pounding started, loud enough that Harvey sprinted to the hallway and barked like he meant it. Lena slammed her palm against the wood and screamed my name, drawing it out like she could shame me into obedience. My mother joined in, not with yelling, but with that sharp, wounded voice she used whenever I failed to play my role. "Kendra, open this door. You're being cruel." Cruel. That word always came out when I protected myself. I walked to the living room window and peeked through the blinds. My neighbors across the street had paused on their porch, pretending to check their mail while watching the moving truck and my family cluster at my door. Heat climbed my neck, but it didn't turn into panic. It turned into steel. If my parents wanted a public moment, fine, let them have one. My phone buzzed, Dad calling, then Mom, then Lena. I let it ring until the noise felt pointless. Finally, I answered my father, put him on speaker, and held the phone at my side so Harvey wouldn't hear the tension in my voice. "Kendra," Dad said, low and controlled, "this has gone far enough." "No," I replied, "it's gone exactly far enough." Mom snatched the phone on their end, her breath sharp. "How could you do this to your sister? She needs help." "She needs a place to live," I said. "That doesn't make my house community property." Lena's voice cut in, shrill with outrage. "You think you're better than us because you bought a stupid little house?" I stared at my own hallway, the one I'd painted myself on a Saturday with music playing and Harvey leaving paw prints in the dropcloth. "I don't think I'm better," I said. "I think I'm done." Mom's voice turned pleading, then poisonous in the same sentence. "You're tearing this family apart." I let the words hang. You tore it apart the day you taught Lena she could take whatever she wanted, and you taught me to stay quiet about it. There was a pause, as if the truth had sucked the air out of the call. Then Dad tried again, the way he always did, aiming for pressure instead of understanding. "Open the door. We'll talk like adults." "I'm talking like an adult," I said. "Leave my property." "If you don't, I'll call the police." Lena laughed, high and brittle. "Go ahead. Call them. Tell them you locked your sister out." "I will tell them someone is trespassing," I corrected. "Because that's what this is." I ended the call. Outside, the pounding slowed, then stopped. Through the camera feed on my phone, I watched Lena step back and fling her arms wide at my parents like they were a jury. My mother pointed at the house, furious. My father rubbed his forehead. Finally, Lena stormed down the steps and kicked the tire of the moving truck hard enough to make the driver jump. Then she did what Lena always did when she didn't get her way. She performed. Within minutes, a post went up on her social media, a long, dramatic paragraph about betrayal, about how I'd stolen a home meant for family, about how she'd been forced out by my selfishness. She added a photo of my front door with the moving truck in the background, like evidence in a trial. My stomach flipped when I saw it, but I didn't flinch. I opened my settings and blocked her. Then I blocked my mother. Then my father. Then I left the family group chat without a word. The quiet afterward felt unreal, like stepping out of a noisy room and realizing you'd been shouting for years. The truck finally drove away. Lena's car followed, peeling down the street like she wanted the whole neighborhood to hear her rage. My mother's car lingered for a moment, then backed out slowly, like she couldn't believe she'd lost. When the street emptied, I sank onto the couch and Harvey climbed into my lap, all warm weight and trust. I buried my face in his fur and exhaled. Not relief exactly. More like release. That night, Leah came over with takeout and zero judgment. She listened while I told her what happened. Then she raised her drink and said, "To locked doors and unlocked peace." I slept through the night for the first time in days. The fallout took longer, but it came. Lena's post didn't land the way she expected. People asked why she was moving into her sister's house without being invited. Someone commented, "So you tried to squat." Another wrote, "Why didn't your parents take you in?" The more she fought in the comments, the worse she looked. A week later, I heard through a coworker who knew her friend that Lena had been reprimanded at work for posting during her shift and dragging drama into the office. 2 weeks after that, she was let go. She told everyone it was toxic management. But the story followed her because entitlement always leaves fingerprints. My parents tried calling from a different number. I didn't answer. They mailed a letter, heavy with guilt and excuses. I didn't open it. I didn't owe them a stage for one more performance. Instead, I focused on my life. I repainted the second bedroom a soft green and turned it into a quiet office. I fixed the backyard gate so it latched properly. I took Harvey on long walks and learned every crack in the sidewalk, every friendly neighbor, every place the sun hit my street at golden hour. One evening, months later, I sat on my back steps while Harvey chewed his tennis ball and the wind moved through my shrubs. Taller now, thick with privacy. I realized something that should have been obvious all along. Boundaries aren't punishment, they're proof that you finally believe you deserve to exist without permission. And for the first time in my life, I didn't feel like the easy one. I felt like the owner.